this is it. The finale. Well, for Mario 64 anyway. I might need to take a break from this game in general after this past month. Actually, who am I kidding? I'll be playing TikTok Clock and an Uber ride within a week. So as many of you know, Mario 64 DS is a game of 150 stars, which means there are 30 more in this remake than in the original. 15 of those were the ones we discussed over the past few videos. Basically, each stage now has an additional 8th star, including the 100 coins. The other 15 were added to the tally of Castle Secret Stars. And since there were already 15 Castle Secret Stars, that means there are now 30 Castle Secret Stars. Obviously, I'm not going to go through all 30 since many of them are repeats, so let's shed that list down a bit. 2 Slide Stars, the Aquarium, the Red Cap Star, and the 3 Toad Stars are basically the same thing. So that takes us down to 23. The 3 Bowser stages, the Metal Cap stage, and the Invisible Cap stage all have the same red coin challenges, so that knocks us down to 18. Also, instead of the MIP star, you now have to catch 8 glowing rabbits throughout the hub world, and that'll give you a single star. Their appearance is random, but the strategy is to keep entering and exit the castle until you see a glowing bunny and grab it. Once you get 8, you'll be able to get a star, and that would leave us with 17 remaining. Let's run through those 17. Sunshine Isles is a new stage located in the room with Princess Peach's slide. It's a beach setting with 5 silver stars. The theme is meant to be an homage to Mario Sunshine. Watch this space, that's coming next. I'm not sure when exactly, but in the coming days. But either way, it's a harmless challenge you can complete after getting the first star, and it's meant to show the players there are actually more differences in this game than they probably expected. 16 remaining. The castle courtyard now has a red coin challenge that involves defeating 8 boos. It's pretty self-explanatory. I like that they repurposed this area. I think it needed an extra challenge and to be more than just the area used to enter Boo's haunt. 15 remaining. The next 2 stars are in a new stage. The stage was added to unlock Mario. After a player gets 8 stars, they can enter a door in the same room as Sunshine Isles painting, and it'll take them to a room with a Mario painting. The first star is an 8 red coin star. It's pretty straightforward. The stage is vast and open, and it's sort of asking players to look around everywhere. The actual path to the boss is a bit more linear, but you are also kind of going around blindly the first time you play. There is some credit I think the stars in the stage deserve that I don't usually hear praise. The Switch Star requires the use of Mario's wall kick to grab, and the red coin star requires Luigi's invisibility and Wario's strength. So in order for a player to actually grab these 2 secret stars in this stage, they'll have to return to it. Which means the first visit when a player shows up with Yoshi, all they really should be doing is heading for the boss fight to take on Goomboss to unlock Mario. And yes, Goomboss being here is actually awesome. And the unique boss fight alone is such a great add-on considering how weak most of the boss fights in this game were. I said this way back when I was covering Mario Party DS, but between the newly added boss fights in this game and the boss fights in Mario Party DS, and yeah, there were actually boss fights in Mario Party DS, a Mario Party 3D platformer on the DS would have been a lot of fun if those bosses were used for that hypothetical game. But alas, we wouldn't get a handheld 3D platformer until the 3DS. Anyway, I'm a big fan of the stage and the inclusion of Goomboss and the star challenges provided here. I think it's a good addition, and now we're at 13 stars remaining. Next up, we have the Haunted Boo stage that is used to unlock Luigi. This one's really cool. When you enter Luigi's painting room for Big Boo's haunt, you'll hear a cackling ghost. You have to actually listen to the sound and determine whether it's coming from your right, left, or directly across. Do that a few times and it'll take you to the final room where you have to go up a few platforms and into a room with a giant mirror. When you move up to the mirror, you actually get a bit of a cutscene where your reflection turns into Luigi, and then you face off against King Boo. It's a pretty fun fight because King Boo is only visible through the reflection. Although his shadow is apparent where you stand, so you kinda need to use the reflection and eyeball where to ground pound him. Once that's all taken care of, Luigi will be unlocked. Throughout the stage, however, there are the usual 8 red coins to collect for a secret star, and there's also a Switch Star that would require the use of Luigi to be invisible so he can jump through the Boo painting at the end of the long collapsible bridge. That would take us down to 11 stars. The next star also has an entrance in the courtyard. Over on the right, you can break a brick to unveil a hole to drop down into, and you'll access the battle fort. This one is similar to the Isles. It's a small course with seemingly a lot going on, but nothing going on at the same time. There are 5 silver stars to collect in this area. You have to go around dodging enemies and various objects to finish it off. 10 remaining. The next star is the Switch Star in the first Bowser stage. It's just your typical speed platforming star with minor to moderate challenge levels, and that brings us down to 9. But then you have another Switch Star in the second Bowser stage. Same idea, 8 remaining. Next up, Chief Chili Challenge. This is the stage entered to unlock Wario, and it actually requires the use of Luigi to enter, and that's because you have to use Luigi's invisibility to go through the mirror in the room that hosts Snowman's Land. Wario's portrait hangs on the reflection, so the only way to access it is with Luigi. The new secret course is a fun linear obstacle course. The final boss awaits you at the end of this course, and it's Chief Chili. It's another good boss fight in my opinion, and yet again helps the DS game stand out a bit over the original in regards to the boss fights. I like that it takes the big bully fights and turns them into actual boss fights in a big arena. The 2 bonus stars in this stage are an 8 red coin challenge, and a separate one that will require you to return to the stage with Wario to break a black brick and cross a windy, narrow bridge. The red coin challenge will require the use of Balloon Mario and Luigi's invisible abilities to grab as well, so it's once again a nice way to make the star gather through teamwork. 6 stars remaining. Bowser in the Sky has a new Switch star as well that requires just a little bit more challenge, but should be easy enough to grab for players that have made it this far. As far as the Bowser stages as a whole, they're more or less one-to-one recreations of the original, including the red coins. The boss fights also for some reason feel easier to me. I'm not sure why, maybe they give you more leeway with the timing. Also, Bowser looks normal. But still, for the most part, it's the same experience in the Bowser stages minus a random power-up here or there, which is why I haven't really done a deep dive into these stages. 5 stars remaining. Next up is the secret under the moat, which the entrance is now blocked off by a block only Wario could break. There's still a star here that requires the red coins, but they also added the inclusion of a star you're meant to use Balloon Mario to grab. 3 remaining. Next up is behind the waterfall, also known as the secret area you access through the Dory Cavern in Hazy Maze Cave. It once again still has a red coin challenge and a star that Balloon Mario is meant to grab. And finally, I saved the most underwhelming star for last, and that's only because it's somewhat stupidly my favorite added bonus star in this game. See, Princess Peach's castle didn't really change all that much from the original to the remake. Sure, it has the arched bridge now at the entrance, and there's the added garden at the castle grounds, and the room that hosts all of the character swaps is a notable difference. But outside of that, things hardly changed. When I got 64DS, I had just turned 14 years old. I was a high schooler. I didn't experience the handheld title the same way I did the original, sitting in the living room around my siblings and taking turns swapping the controller. Instead, I mostly experienced this game with my younger brother and cousin peering over my shoulder while I played. I remember as soon as I entered the room and unlocked Wario, I was ready to leave, and my cousin, that must have been like 8 at the time, laughed and suggested I go through that door because maybe it would make Luigi come out of the DS and enter the real world. Obviously, that didn't happen, but what did happen was arguably even cooler. It's not a groundbreaking star by any means, but it's a star that I'll always cherish because of the memory it gave me. And that's the thing with Mario 64 DS. It was never my groundbreaking experience. You can only break ground once, and the OG 64 did that for me already. But the fact that I was now able to play Mario 64 endlessly over and over again on my own schedule and at my own pace made it the definitive Mario experience for me for a very long time. Whether 64 purists like it or not, a large reason why Mario 64 is as big and popular as it is because of 64DS. And I'm not just saying that because it was a remake, I'm saying that because it sold almost as well as the original. And that was a good amount of years before Mario 64 would make its way towards Wii's Virtual Console as well. Now obviously home consoles were usually shared and handhelds were usually personal, so one Mario 64 sale could be worth 5 players more than a 64DS cartridge. But regardless of how you look at it, a large portion of Mario 64 fans sprouted because of this remake. It's the reason the controls are always argued, the visuals are always debated, and someone is almost always going to make a blanket statement like, the map will always make me hate DS, or the lack of a map will always make me skip the original, or a debate about the models and art styles. It's because there is genuinely a large portion of the Mario 64 fandom that see the DS version as not only the definitive experience, but the only experience. And they're not wrong for it, nor is the 64 fan wrong for their opinion. The only person wrong here is me. Seriously, I literally can't determine which version of these games I like, and after going through all of these videos, I still haven't come to a conclusion. First, let's do some tallies. Of the 15 stages in the game, I've determined that I prefer the DS version in 10 of them. That could be something as simple as a single added star to an otherwise unaltered stage, or it could be because an added map completely altered the experience. But in general, through most of the stages, I found the improvements made for the DS titles overall good improvements, and the added stars were mostly wins in my book. I didn't mind the inclusion of the Switch stars and the Silver stars throughout the courses because each of the challenges of those stars felt unique enough to stand on their own. Actually, let's pause. The Silver stars need to be set to the side because I think there's an insinuation that this game is filled with Silver star challenges, and grouping them in with the Switch stars is completely misleading. There actually aren't nearly as many Silver star challenges implemented in this game as Switch stars. You have 2 in the secret stages, and then Bob on Battlefield, and then you don't get another one until you make it all the way to Lethal Lava Land, followed by Shifting Sand Land, which doesn't count because it's not a new star, they just changed the secret coins into Silver stars, so it's not a newly added Silver star challenge. And same with Snowman's Land, they just changed the red coin challenge to Silver stars. Wet Dry World is the next one that have a normal Silver star challenge, followed by Tick-Tock Clock, and that one needs an asterisk because you basically just stand on the bottom of the stage and wait for the stars to drop. So, that's really only 3 truly new Silver Star challenges added to the stages in this game that are Bob-omb Battlefield, Lethal Lava Land, and Wet Dry World. 2 more from the added Secret Star stages, that takes us to 5, and if you want me to remove my stipulations and add the other ones, that takes us to 8, including the Secret Stars. To give you an idea, there are roughly 21 red coin challenges in the game, and roughly 15 Switch Stars throughout the game. So maybe we should slightly change the discourse about the Silver Stars, since they don't nearly make up as much of the game as many of the discussions would have you believe. Regarding the Switch Stars, however, I mentioned in an earlier segment that having 8 red coin stars and 100 coin challenges in each stage still felt fundamentally different enough to feel like their own unique experience. Likewise, the challenges provided through each of the Switch Stars was unique enough to stand on its own, whether through requiring a specific type of jump, power-up, movement, or platforming in order to collect it. So even if it is a repeated challenge, I don't find it any more repetitive than, say, fighting multiple bullies or boos for more than 1 star in a single course. Each Switch Star provides a specific challenge that requires you to go through the stage and collect a star. But anyway, my point in all of this is that I actually like the stars added to the stages, and even in the case of the stages that I prefer the original versions, it wasn't simply because of the new star itself, rather because of more fundamental changes to the game. But since I can't really say one version is entirely definitive, I'm going to describe my definitive version of Mario 64. It would have controls similar to Mario Odyssey, but without Cappy obviously, and likewise with the same free-flowing camera from that game. I would keep all of the new character stuff from DS version because as much as I love controlling Mario, I think having more characters is more fun to bounce around between, and the power-ups provide a good incentive to bring different characters in at different times. Maybe find a way to better swap between the characters, but I'm not really that picky. I don't know what to tell you, I like the multiple characters. The game should lock Luigi out from getting the stars that he breaks, which, by the way, based off the tally that I've been keeping, is only 28 total stars. Granted, I wasn't as generous in the calculation, and I think it largely comes down to how a player would define breaking, but I think there's a fine line between Luigi making the game easier and Luigi completely breaking a star. Luigi and Yoshi do make the game easier, but not to the point where it drastically alters the experience outside of those 28 stars. Not to mention, if in order to break the star, Luigi was required to practice 5 to 10 times, does that even count as breaking the star at that point? I'm not sure. But for me, there were only 28 stars that I genuinely felt like he broke. And even if my margin of error doubled that number, that count would still be less than half of the stars throughout the 15 courses of the game. But still, for my definitive game, he'd be locked out of those 28 stars, and the game devs can decide how they want to do that. I would want the game to have the DS's secret stars and all the additional stages, as well as the map, as I feel like it doesn't ruin that much of the experience. With the condition that Big Boo's Haunt just has a giant question mark over the map like it's malfunctioning in that stage. But every other stage should include the map, even if it's slightly less detailed to make it a bit more challenging. Whomp's Fortress should not contain that newly added segment, Snowman's Land should bring back the old igloo and the old ice sculpture, and Tick-Tock Clock should bring back the 64 version. I think with fixed controls, that one would be a better final challenge in the game than the DS one, and that would be my definitive Mario 64 experience. If they remade the game, those are the options I'd bring to the table. But, and this might be controversial, I don't really care to see this game remade. Port the DS version with 3D Land and Galaxy 2 and a sequel to All-Stars, just so it can be available on modern consoles, and that would be good enough for me. As much as a newly made definitive version of these games would easily eat up all of my time, I still quite frequently revisit both Mario 64s. Mario 64 is a timeless experience. I don't need nor want either version to be remade to play it. Just keep porting them over for me and I'll keep playing them. What I would like instead is another 3D Mario title. And this is going to sound like I'm throwing shade at Sonic, but that's not what is intended. As I play Sonic games throughout the years, I often would just want them to remake an older title. Even though I didn't always hate the new Sonic games, it just always felt like if they steered into nostalgia, they'd do better, because their older ones were better. And it's no coincidence that Mania and Generations are 2 of the most loved games in that franchise. Over there it made sense, because whenever they made a new game, it's almost always seen as a failure. In the case of 3D Mario, it's been banger after banger my whole life. For that reason, I don't care if they never remake Mario 64, because I know that whatever they do make will be groundbreaking and phenomenal, and create a whole new magical experience that will make me feel the same way I felt when I played Mario 64 as a kid. The same way I felt going through this entire series over the past month. I've genuinely enjoyed reliving Mario 64 through these videos. And as I get older and have less and less time to revisit video games because I have priorities I need to tend to, I'll always be able to come back to these videos and get that sweet feel of nostalgia. And for me, that alone has made these tens of thousands of words of scripts worth it. If I provided that same benefit for all of you, then I'll have considered this video series a success. Thank you all so much for tagging along during this wonderful experience. I'll be looking forward to Sunshine next, but I need a bit of time to wrap it up. Keep an eye out on my channel for the upload schedule, but at minimum, I'll have something up every Saturday at 11 AM Eastern Time. I hope you all have an amazing 2025.